Raghee, how much lower for Bitcoin? This is a common question I've been getting in the current meltdown of Bitcoin as it crosses down through 89,000 today. Now, one of the things you can do is take more of a short-term approach to Bitcoin, and that's something we were looking at doing today as a fade, which is to say shorting into resistance, buying either IBIT puts or just shorting the Bitcoin futures. If you're a Bitcoin trader and you want to play the Bitcoin USD, that's fine too. Same idea. Take a 5-minute chart and set up trades for today. Take a day trading approach. And day trading has been working really well. So if you've been struggling with the day trading, stick around. I'm going to be having some more updates on our day trades in the Sector Secrets Mastery. The chop and the uncertainty has been creating intraday opportunities. Bitcoin is just one of them. But the bigger picture question for a lot of traders is, okay, Rag, what do I do with Bitcoin right now? And there's two time frames I'm going to share with you. Number one is the daily. If you have more of a swing trading approach, and for me, that's mostly off the daily time frame. So this is the daily that I'm looking at right now. Bitcoin is in a downtrend. For how long? Bitcoin confirmed the downtrend at the close of Friday, November 7. And the way that I look at that is with this indicator down at the bottom, which in essence studies the relationship between the 8, 13, 21, and 34 exponential moving averages. And the relation to each other gives me a read on momentum. Is it bullish or bearish? And the overall trend. Again, is it bullish or bearish? In between, of course, is neutral. There's nothing neutral right now with the Bitcoin trend. It is bearish momentum and bearish trend. Additionally, Bitcoin has been printing red candles, and I look for 5 red candles in a row, especially in a neutral or bearish momentum environment. Once we have that, focus on the short side or focus on buying puts, expecting overall movement lower. So I'd like to show you all when these things transitioned from chop to trend or from trend to chop. That's what this indicator down at the bottom studies. It studies structure. Structure dictates strategy, and the strategy right now should be of the bearish variety. Now, really simply, when Bitcoin rallies, I'm going to show you a little zoomed in here. When Bitcoin rallies into the red zone, into the gold zone, so a red candle, that's a bearish candle, into the gold zone. So the gold zone, or that yellow highlighting you see here, that is volatility-based resistance. Now, Bitcoin, like every other symbol out there, has a historical price movement range. I call this PMR. Now, price movement ranges look at approximately 6 months of volatility to see what the average price movement is for a symbol specific to the day of the week, right? Every day of the week does have a slightly different historical volatility. So anytime Bitcoin trades up into this yellow zone, as we have actually many times in the context of this overall downtrend, that is the timing, that is the zone for long puts or short Bitcoin. Again, you can trade micro or full size Bitcoin futures. IBIT puts are great. Now, this is the daily swing, which means my typical time horizon follow through expectation is really as little as 2 days, but really more around 10 days to whenever the expiration of that option in the case of IBIT is. But I will look at around 2 to 10 to about a month in terms of follow through when it comes to the daily time frame. Now, I don't use multiple time frame confirmation. The thing that I want to remember about time frames is each time frame, whether that be a 5-minute, a daily, or a weekly, encapsulate the psychology of that time horizon. In other words, if someone's looking at a 5-minute chart, that's a today view. If they're looking at a weekly chart, that's usually months, if not potentially years in terms of directional bias. Now, the other thing I'm going to mention, I know it's a little small at the bottom of the chart. Feel free to pause the video, but you'll see that Bitcoin has already, quote unquote, crashed from its all-time high of 127,240. If you're a really long-term player, if you're a hodler, right? And by the way, Rog, do you like Bitcoin? Are you a hodler? Diamond hands here, baby. I've had Bitcoin since 2016. It's a matter of having a very long-term approach when it comes to Bitcoin, because it's going to have these ebbs and flows from time to time. And when I look at the fact that we're getting a 20+% pullback on a fairly negative narrative, I'm not surprised. Please don't think Bitcoin moves any differently than any risk-on asset class. If we have risk appetite for tech, if we have risk appetite for NASDAQ, S&P, that's usually going to benefit Bitcoin. The one thing that is troubling are the red candles on this weekly time frame. Now, the red candles tell me that not only are we getting bearish momentum and bearish participation, you can see that down here as well. It is a neutral structure, but that's a little troubling because the previous pullback that was a fairly significant one where folks panicked from about 110 down to just below 80. That particular pullback was a fantastic buying opportunity if you have that longer term. In this case, I'm talking specifically more of a weekly chart mindset, again, of months to years. So now what do you do? Well, once something's crashed, I'm pretty enthusiastic about a potential buy. What I'm going to look for now on a weekly time frame. So we already talked about the daily time frame. If you're looking at a time horizon of days to weeks, be a bear. You want to short into those resistance levels, short into highs in this downtrend. But the weekly time frame, where we're talking months to years, this is what we're going to be looking for. And we saw something similar last time Bitcoin pulled back. I'm going to show you a pattern that has been my favorite price pattern for decades, and that's something called a minor low. Now, this works on any time frame. It's a pause and expectation of a reversal. Notice that the candle that plotted right here, this is a wider candle. And if you're wondering, Rog, yeah, what's with the size of your candles? These are volume candles on TradingView. I love these candles. If you have vision difficulties, as I have had, 54, and the bigger the footprint on the chart, the happier I am. But the cool thing is, when you get a wide candle with a volume candle, that means that this particular candle bounced off the lows and closed up near the highs on higher volume that preceded it. That's a great heads up. I'd love to see something like that in the coming weeks, where there is a wider candle, so more volume, and maybe there's a wick to the downside, but we close up near the highs. And then the next candle is really important. In a minor low pattern, which roughly looks like this, we're selling off, right? And then all of a sudden we'll get that wider volume candle. The next candle, regardless of the volume, I'd like it to be a wide candle, but it doesn't have to be, needs to take out the high of the lower low candle. So back to this example here. This is the minor low pattern. Here is your lower low candle. Here is the high of that candle. And the next day, right in here, we took that high out. That's what I'm waiting for. Would I prefer these candles be yellow and green and not red? Absolutely. But as long as Bitcoin does not turn into a downtrend, I don't love the bearish momentum, but this is not a downtrend, right? That would be when the lower color of this indicator here goes magenta. So I don't have a downtrend here. So this would be really more of a distribution fade buy with a bottoming pattern support. Another level that would be worth watching, and this is this year's volume on a weekly chart, we actually have a volume ledge. There's a good bit of volume right in here. If that pattern were to organize in here, I already know that size participated in Bitcoin at this level just above 80, which not so coincidentally was where the buyers came in before. So look at history. Buyers looked at that price and said, you know what? That's going to be a good setup. We got the minor low and up it went. That's what I'm going to be looking for. Just a rerun. History may not repeat itself, but it sure does rhyme. So that's what I'm looking for. The first obstacle to the upside, if and when this does happen, is once again going to be a volume level, which is going to be sitting right about here, just below 96,000. So I'd like to see support at this level. I'd like to see that pattern occur without a downtrend, that minor low, and then I'll look for an opportunity to get long Bitcoin again. And that's ultimately how I would look at Bitcoin. Keep that longer term horizon if you're a bull, but if you're a bear, short the rips. And that's